Welcome to the Mind Chimp podcast. Saqib, before we even get started, question.
Yes.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
An astronaut, not. A gardener, maybe. Oh, I quite fancied being the person that injected the jam in the donuts in Morrison's.
Okay.
But being seriously, never had a career progression path. We never sat down with, I'm talking about my parents. I just wanted to be content with life, even as a young kid. And I'll talk about a turning point in my life. And wanted to see others happy as well. So growing up in an economically deprived area, I'm still living there, by the way, so I enjoy it.
Okay.
So that's what I wanted to be. So profession-wise, nothing. But life-wise, I just wanted to be happy and see others happy as well.
Okay. So, it's interesting that you mentioned happy, because I think you could ask some of the most interesting people, you yourself being one of them, is if you ask them what is happiness, it's sometimes it's hard to describe. So I suppose, what is happiness to you, Saqib?
For me, it's contentment.
Okay.
So happiness with what you have. So not a big aim to reach out and ask for more, but make the most of what you have.
Okay.
And that can be, financially what you have, so you live within your means and you can still be happy.
Okay.
You see all of the news about homeless people being happy. And even recently with the snows, there was a large percentage of homeless people who didn't want to move into shelters for 3-4 days because that's not where they were happy. They were happy out there in the streets, interacting with people. And for me, life is all about interacting with people, having that meaningful communication in everyday life.
Okay, cool. So I guess, obviously, from my point of view, I've known you for since 2010, and you was one of my first mentors, and you was a person who made me want to get into L&D, because before meeting you, I didn't know what L&D was, I didn't know what training and development was, and yeah, you was literally the person who said, I want to be like that person. So for me, I know who exactly you are, but if I was to ask you, who is Saqib, but I want you to sum it up in like a movie logline or a summary, what would that be?
Probably the boy who believed.
Okay, the boy who believed. I like that.
So it's a case of all about giving people chances and believing in, wherever is ahead of you. So if there's certain obstacles, tasks, challenges, the fact that you can overcome them, that's what it's all about. And I didn't have an easy journey into L&D. It was I'm not going to say difficult one, but it did land on me by surprise. And it's probably the one that then just unleashed Saqib into the world of L&D. So prior to that, I quite enjoyed, dealing with customer complaints, frontline customer queries. That was me. I was content with that.
Okay.
And then when this opportunity came along, and there was certain things that happened beforehand which led to this opportunity, which if I can just mention.
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
So I'd been in this job for maybe 5-6 years. Loved it to bits. There wasn't much progression happening. Then one day one of my friends came around to my house, and before he came, he just rang me and he says, Saqib, are you free this evening? I just want to come round. And that whole thought process, what does he want? I've not seen him in a couple of years. Why does he want to come to my house now? And when you're too shy or embarrassed to ask, or you don't want to embarrass them, yeah, come on down. You're welcome anytime. So he goes, yeah, I'll be home at your house for about 7ish, no worries. And he came round. So, the traditional thing, hospitality comes out, and we're just having, some snacks, some tea, some drinks. And I still haven't plucked up the courage that, why have you come to see me for? And then he said, look, I'm enrolling on a college course. It's a PGCE to become a teacher. The council are running it, and it's not going to cost you anything. And I'm looking for a partner to join me in this 2-year adventure. And when he said adventure, and I thought, going back to college, uni, 2 years, part-time. And for me, what clicked was, why did he choose me? He could have picked anyone. And why was he sharing such good news, such knowledge? Why did he want me to, succeed and do well? no reason whatsoever. And I thought, you know what? He's genuine.
Yeah.
So I enrolled on the course. We actually buddied up. I got somebody else. And so there were 3 of us in the end, and we helped each other through the 2 years, which was a solid graft, working full time, doing this as well every Wednesday evening, and having some inspirational teachers as well. And it got me through this whole buddy system. You can call it communities of practice. And then from there on in, I thought, there are lots of genuine people out there who just care about you and want you to do well because they're also doing well. And then as a result of that, the L&D position came up. I applied for it, and they noticed that I'd done 1 year of my PGCE. And that really, really helped when it came to doing the presentations and putting together some lesson plans, which meant I was successful in getting the role, and I've not looked back since.
Okay. So I think when you mentioned, there's genuine people out there, massively, I believe that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things which you touched upon, you said, you had your full-time job and you're doing this, PGC, but you also missed out the fact that you probably would have been at that time doing things with local community. So I guess, this is kind of one of the things which a lot of people don't really know about you. I don't think a lot of people know about it.
Yeah.
Maybe your local community do, but you do a lot with local mosques and stuff.
I do. I've been involved from a very, very young age. And again, that stems back to your childhood when somebody starts off something, when you get the youth who'll say nowadays, and I completely agree with them that, they are bored, there's nothing to do. And whereas, our generation might say, we found things to do. But now I think it's our duty to help these youngsters to find things to do. And somebody did help me. We used to attend regular classes on a Sunday. And even though they were at a mosque, they weren't always religious-based classes. So, you'd learn a bit about your religion. We went canoeing. For a 10, 11-year-old, from that background, going canoeing in a canal in Ashton. And I thought, this is amazing. Wow. There's a world out there which needs exploring. And then as a result of that, we do other activities, which was football as well, and hiking. And that really, really brings you, I'm going to say, a bit of harmony.
Okay.
So that word again that comes in is contentment, but you are in harmony with the world, and you think, oh, there's lots of nice people out there, yeah, and there are more nice people out there. And this is why I'm a firm believer that we always look at the media. You pick up the tabloids or the news, and you'll hear nothing but negative headlines. But when you go out there in the real world, you'll just meet the nicest people in the world, who change lives without even knowing they've changed lives. So outside, yes, I do a lot because I believe that lots of people have helped me on my way as well, whereas they didn't need to. And there was this gentleman who once where I didn't turn up for maybe 4 weeks on the trot because we used to have the class, we used to play football afterwards. And as an 11-year-old, football is the be-all and end-all. And because I didn't turn up for 4 weeks, and the genuine reason was because Saturday night on BBC, you would always see a good movie on, which meant that you'd go to bed late, so you couldn't get up the next morning for class. So God, please forgive me for that one. And this bloke, who himself was only early 20s, he turned up at my house. And my mum opened the door and he said, "Is Saqib in? I'm just a bit worried he's not turned up for the last 4 weeks." And again, it makes you think, why?
Yeah.
And he was just genuinely concerned. And as a result of that, you actually take that in without knowing you're taking that in. And you carry that with you in the hope that you can then go and change other people's lives. And so in the community, I do teach at the mosque on a weekly basis. And part of that is, believe it or not, you get to speak to people who have all sorts of issues. Sorry to lower the tone, but domestic violence. People will come and want to chat with you, even though you're not clued up on the subject. You'll read up what the law says, etc., and you'll try and offer some neutral advice and some career guidance for people, and some parents who are concerned about the children going off the road And so finding time for them. And I always thought, then I speak to my family, when you turn up late at home, etc., where were you? And they're all okay with it. They're easy with it.
Yeah.
And the ultimate test is when I say, look, I'm just going to quit all this community work. And that's when your family, your wife and your kids say, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And therefore, that they're happy for you to do that, if need be. And then I also do lots of, for the mosques, teacher training. So we're looking at, training 100 teachers at a time, making it eventful, exciting in that way. And it's something I really, really enjoy because I believe I've got a passion and a skill for it. And why not pass it on? Why hoard the knowledge? Why not give and inspire others to do so?
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing what I can hear coming from that, I guess, is one, you kind of one thing I've noticed about it, to be honest, Saqib, is you always see the best in people, even in what could be deemed a not great situation. You always see the best. And I think, you mentioned about creating experiences and stuff like that. And I guess if I wasn't so lucky to have you as a mentor, then I probably wouldn't have known that learning could have been an experience. It can be an experience. It can have this emotional impact on you. And it has that butterfly effect of what they learn and what they push out. So I guess, I think it's just, you don't really boast about it, and not many people don't really know about it, but I just thought it was good to put it out on it.
Yeah, that's just me. I mean, you got me in this podcast and I've said it, and I don't know how many, hundreds of thousands of millions of listeners are going to be out there. Yeah, let's hope. Yeah, again, hope. So, unconditional positive regard. It's about hope that everyone has in it, that, this positive change or the ability to change, and you accept people for who they are.
Yeah.
I used to be anti-technology a long time ago, and maybe still are to some degrees. But when you look at the younger generation, because I was just telling the kids over Christmas, I said, Christmas for me was different. So we'd buy the radio times and the TV times, and you'd circle the movies you wanted to watch. And I said, now with you, you've already watched them on Netflix. Yeah. And that excitement isn't there. So, we need to come down to the level of our next generation. We need to embrace the change or what they accept as a norm and go with it. Because let's not try and bring them to our way of thinking. Maybe throw in a few nuggets here and there and talk about the good times where you built dens, in abandoned factories, which, health and safety wouldn't allow nowadays. And where you take the laces at your dad's shoes for conkers. Things are different. And now, you've got Velcro shoes and you might struggle for laces. But
it's a good shout. It's a good shout. I think I was having this conversation with my nephew. My nephew's into Xboxing and gaming and online gaming, and that's cool. But I remember I took him the other week to play Manhunt in the woods.
All right.
This is before I did my kneeing. And it was a case of, let's play Manhunt. He didn't know what Manhunt was. I'm like, wow, this was like one of the best games when I was young. Making dens, Manhunt, Conkers was good, and Kickball-Eyed. I think Kickball-Eyed was more of a round of where he was lived, whether that game existed or not.
Right.
But it was literally, you put a ball on the spot, you kick it, the person runs and gets this ball, and by that time you've kind of hid, and they've got to come and catch you. Pretty much hide and seek, but with a ball. But yeah, I can still remember playing these where I grew up. I'm like, how many kids are going to have this in 10 years' time? Are they going to look back and go, oh, I remember when I went on to level 3 on Call of Duty. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if it will. I don't know if it won't. But it's interesting and scary at the same time.
So let me ask you, Danny, what you've described were all meaningful experiences.
Yeah.
Things that shaped your life, things that you can reminisce over. Now, will the next generation have the same? Like you said, will they be there, gathered with their mates? Remember, on level 3, you could do this. There was a backdoor entry to escape from the submarine. I don't know. Will they?
It's interesting. I think, like when I talk to my friends and we talk about like cartoons and stuff from back in the day, Thundercats, Ghostbusters, Turtles, and you can talk about them because everyone was doing that same thing. Everyone was watching Thundercats or whatever. But it wasn't like, that was a small part of a conversation. When you reminisce, you talk about, like say, playing out with your friends. And I just think, our kids going to have that playing out with friends anymore? Probably not. It's going to, predominantly the conversation is going to be led by gaming.
But then, to a certain degree, can we impose our experiences, our ideas on them?
I don't think we can impose. I think we can direct, and then we direct them and say, the road less travelled. It's up to you which way you want to go. But over here, there's a load of enjoyment, and this is what I used to do as a child. You might not like it, you might do. But I think one of the biggest learning things I ever had was I went doing National Citizenship Service with Bolton Lads and Girls Club. And literally it was me and another girl. And we just mentored a group of 15, 16-year-olds, young adults. And it was a nightmare. Taking the mobile phone from them was a nightmare. We could have it back for 1 hour, but by taking it away from them, we had to fully engage with what was going on. And throughout the week, it was challenging your fears and, working in community, and we loved it.
Right.
And then you could see them getting into it and working as a little team, but give them the phone back for an hour and then ask them to take the phone back off them. It kicks off again. I'm like, wow, for the last 4 hours, you've just enjoyed working with your friends or with these people. Give them the phone for an hour, take it back off them, and it's that whole storming, norming, performing.
Yes.
But it was just giving them the phone back for an hour, and they turned into devil kids. And I'm just like, this was, probably about 4 years ago. And so these were young adults, so 4 years, 16, 17, they're probably about 19 now, 20 or something. But when I look at, say, my nephews and stuff like that, I just think, to tell them to take the phone off them or tell them they can't have your Xbox. Literally, they'll be burning the house down. But it's scary. I think it's interesting and scary, it's probably to say.
Yeah, no, definitely. It is tough. I love social experiments in the way that. So if I said to you, Danny, what do you think of the movie Back to the Future?
Yep.
What would you say?
I think it was awesome. I can remember the trainers, the Velcro, the tight self-trying, the hoverboards. I can remember Doc. Yeah, loved it. And I loved waiting for number 2 to come out, Back to the Future 2. And, I can talk about that whole, what I was doing. I can also remember exactly, as a child, where I was, where I lived, and kind of loosely, but what was going on.
So what I remember from that movie is that it required 1.21 gigawatts of energy to get to 88 mile an hour. So when you speak to other people about the movie Back to the Future, they'll say, well, it's a bit outdated and the technology we have now. So it was good in its time. So what I did was I went and I bought the box set and only paid £5 for it, by the way.
Bargain.
Yep. So I'm not going to say I made, but this was movie night, popcorn out, and I said to the kids, right, here's the Back to the Future trilogy. Let's watch part 1. I watched it as a kid, watched it at the pictures. That cinema doesn't exist anymore. And so straight away, my son, oh, look at this is really old, I don't want to watch this, and let's just go with it, give it a chance. And at the end of it, he said, can we watch part 2? I said, we're well into the night now. He goes, no, it's really good. I want to watch part 2. Yeah. And for them, because I hadn't talked about Back to the Future before, mentioned how good it was, in that, so when they went in there were no expectations, and they really, really enjoyed the movie. And this is why I think, simple things that bring families together, bring people together, board games, caravan holidays, camping, and when you, in them conditions, in that climate, when you play the board games, you can get Monopoly online now, but it's not the same thing as, 4 of you round a board, throwing the dice, and moving the counters, and obviously stealing money from the bank when no one's looking. It just adds so much more.
Well, it's really interesting. We talk about communities, and I've been reading a couple of books recently. One of them was about tribes, and it's saying how you need a tribe to thrive. You always have done, it's kind of, and your local tribe is your family. I mean, I found something out really interesting the other day. If you can water and feed a brand new baby, but if they don't have skin to skin contact, they'll die. And I'm just like, wow, that's bizarre. And we need that connection. So yeah, it's failure to connect. That's what it's called. Failure of contact. And it was talking about how you know, you need that. There's that thing of you need to feel connected, and I think online, yeah, you get the online. You're talking to a voice. Maybe it's your friends, maybe it's not, but you won't beat that whole thing of gathering, like say, gathering around Monopoly. You know, picking which piece you want and whatever else, and kind of just all in all, just having like. Right now, in my family, we do this thing where we all get together once every 2-3 weeks, and it's something what my mum's put in place because we've all grown up and we've all left.
Is it a placeholder in your diary?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, a placeholder. And we'll eat junk food, we'll probably eat rubbish food, and we'll play games like Pictionary, and we'll play old school games. At no point has anyone brought out let's all play on Xbox. And I'm like, there's something to that, because Pictionary, you can play Pictionary online. You can do that. You can definitely do that. And you can play those other games, but it just lacks that connection. It lacks that feel, I think. So you as one of the people, I think, Roald Dahl. So you used to read to your kids, Roald Dahl, stuff like that, yeah? So you gave me one bit of advice years and years ago, and it's something what I've kind of continued to do now. Go back to being a child. Go back to being a child and kind of start thinking a little bit creatively. And just think outside the box. And the only way you can do that is by thinking like a child. You know, there's no limits. You can do whatever you want to do. So, excluding Roald Dahl,
Yes.
if you had to give a book as a gift to 5 people, what book would you give?
What book would I give? I would actually give, it's a book by Philippa Pierce called The Way to Satin Shore.
Okay.
So it's set on the south coast somewhere, and it's about this girl who sets out on this adventure on her bike from one village to another to find out the truth about her missing father. And you know what? And the reason why it probably appealed to me was, firstly, I had it read to me at school.
Okay.
And very, very recently, I'm going back about 3 months, just sat downstairs and thought, that book, what was it called? And I'm trying to think of it. And then I thought, I've got to buy this book. Right, kids, there's this book Mrs. Bentley read to your dad years and years ago, 30 years ago. It's really interesting. What's it called? I don't know what it's called. But I do remember that it featured on Jackanory in the 80s as well. So can you remember, who was the narrator on Jackanory? Yeah, it was that woman that she came in Harry Potter, yeah, and she killed Harry Potter's uncle. Yeah, I mean, I don't still know who she is. Yeah, and straight away both the kids said it's her. So IMDb her, Helena Bonham Carter. Yeah, that's the one. So got into Google search, found out, and the book was called The Way to Satin Shore. We got it from the local library, and then I read it to the kids, and this is the quickest book we've ever read. One more chapter, and we were reading. On average, I'd only read to them a chapter a day, half a chapter depending on what time of the night it was. And halfway through the book, I was reading 4 chapters a night.
Wow.
And I mean, even though some of the chapters were short, it was just such a fascinating book. And my kids at the moment are 12 and 9. And for them to enjoy it more than I enjoyed it second time round, and it just brought back so many memories. So it's got everything in there. It's got your humour, it's got your adventures, the fact that, they build a sledge, to go sledging down the hill, where people are gathered, or helping the mum out with the tea, and, with the gran and the extended families. And sometimes, I'm a firm believer. I grew up watching the Waltons.
Okay.
And people who are of my age will know this on the podcast.
Is that with John Boy?
Yeah, John Boy.
John Boy, yeah.
Good night, John Boy. Yeah. Good night, Grandma. So that was about extended families living together, how it always has been. I'm proud to say that, I live at home with my parents, and my kids see this, that, we've got now 3 generations living in one household, and just the whole social skills that the little ones pick up, being able to interact with the elders with a bit of respect. And the reason why I say this is, whenever I saw somebody outside, if they were older than me, you'd always show them respect.
Yeah.
Just 3 days ago, I turned up for football on a Saturday night, and there were some lads playing before us, And they must have been aged between 16 to 18, no more than that. And as I was stood on the touchline, one of the lads, he seemed okay lad, so he tried doing some nice dazzling skills. And the ball went off for a goal kick and he claimed corner. And one of the other lads on the other team looked a bit rough and tough. So this is me being stereotypical here, just generalising. And straight away, he goes, "Stop lying, you bleep, bleep, bleep. I'll punch you into next week."
Right, okay.
And this other lad, he came across as all innocent, and he was, and he just walked away. And I thought, oh my word, I'm stood on the touchline. Yeah, he's not even bothered thinking that, how's this guy going to take it? Who's the same age as his dad or his uncle. And I just said to him, look, take it easy, lad. Yeah, there's no need for that. And he walked off. He didn't say anything, didn't apologise or anything. And I just believe I had to say something there. Yeah, in the hope that he didn't start on me either. In that way.
Run for the hills.
Yeah, and so, basic values, I think we are missing some. But you get some great kids out there and great people out there as well. But one thing I want to do mention is the fact that, let me ask you a question. Why do you come into work, Danny? Why do you work?
That's a really good question. It's a really good question, and I think there's two ways to look at it. You can go over very well. I need to pay for my mortgage, and I need to do this, and I need to do that. But you could do that doing any job you want. So I think if I rephrase the question, why is it I do what I do? I do what I do is because it stems from school. So throughout school, I remember I was in maths, and I was sat and all the way throughout school, I kind of had this school report, and it was always the same. Great student, however, must pay more attention, struggles in class to pay attention. And I remember in maths, probably my last year before leaving, I remember he was doing algebra, and I sat there, and the teacher was writing on the board, very basic school layout, him in front, drawing on the board, me sat there, the rest of the people sat there. And I remember asking a question because I didn't get it, and I kept asking these questions, and it was kind of a case of, are you stupid, why are you not getting it? And I remember sitting back thinking, it's not I don't get it, I just don't understand what you're writing on the board, on the white chalkboard. Anyway, fast forward many years, and went into uni, and it was one of my teachers called Angela, who said, my son's got dyslexia, and I think you need to have a look and see if you've got dyslexia, dyspraxia.
Right.
So university put me through this course and this assessment, and it turns out I had dyslexia and dyspraxia. And I just think, when I was in school, it was a case of, it probably wasn't a big issue then. It didn't exist probably, and the teachers weren't upskilled or weren't aware to it. But I guess the reason why I go to school is because I think subjects now, we're in a situation where the user, the teacher, the kids struggle to pay attention in life anyway. I think I was reading the average attention cycle is really just like 6 seconds or something daft like that. So I think, okay, so we've got to attack that 6 seconds in a better way than talking chalk on a board. So I do what I do because I believe we can make people better. I think we can make them better in the job, in the life, and just, I think, and how we make people better is me making things more real time. Give me what I need to know now, rather than me kind of having to sit through a boring e-learning. I mean, that's a whole different ball game, e-learning. And I just think there's ways to do it. Make it experience. Make me attach an emotion to it. Make me reflect on past emotions. Make me enjoy my job, whether it be a mundane job or a job I enjoy. And then I like that challenge. Is probably how I do it. But what about you, Saqib?
For me, remember the old Nokia phones when you switched them on and you'd get that ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
And the two hands would come out and it said connecting people.
Yeah.
And that's what phones did. But now they've gone the opposite way. But I do believe deep down, though, is when people are always on their phone, whether it's WhatsApp, Instagram, etc., it's because they are connecting with people. But when it comes to work, people often say this, that they can only work from home for so long because, you're in isolation. You've been quarantined. But the reason I come into work is to have them meaningful communications, them conversations with people. The fact that someone can change your life and you can change somebody else's life. So there's a guy called Walt Bettinger. He's the CEO of Schwab in America.
Okay.
So he did this business degree and, clever guy, passed his exams left, right and centre. His last exam, there was a high pass mark with that one, and you had to get all the questions right in order to pass. He failed.
Okay.
So that exam, the questions that were there, we went there, he answered them all, business propositions, plans, etc. And then the final question was, what is the name of the cleaner
Okay.
where he was studying? So he'd been there for a few years. What is the name of the cleaner? She was called Dottie. Well, he didn't have a clue, never interacted with her, never spoke with her, never said hi, never said bye. How else was he to know? And he goes, that was the biggest lesson he learnt from that.
Wow.
So my previous job where I worked 16 years at O2, we had Carol, we had Sue,
Yeah.
and we would have meaningful conversations. We would talk about, I would talk about their kids, what they were up to, etc. Someone started a new job. Can you have a look at their CV? And it always felt good. And I do believe that, every single day, you've got to have a meaningful conversation with somebody at work. Yeah? Not necessarily the same person. The cleaner.
Yeah.
Yeah? The janitor. Somebody on a different floor. Somebody that you don't even know when you're making tea. Just have that conversation. I know. I've also been in a position where you've tried to have that conversation. They've just ignored you. They've just blanked you. But these things happen. Maybe they've got something else on their mind. But, that's the reason why I come in. The fact that I can influence other people in a nice way, and I can be influenced as well.
Mm.
And just touching up on that, only last week we had a death in the family. It was my mum's uncle, and really close to us. And we visited the hospital for, I think, 5 consecutive days. And my mum spent all day there for the whole 5 days, and me and the missus would go in the evenings, would spend a couple of hours each evening there at the hospital. And, my mum's uncle, he was like a grandfather to us. And he was still communicating really well, moving out and about. And he had an infection in his lungs. But for his family, and for me, it was a case of, to the nurses, you're coming in. Hi, Trevor, you all right today? What's going on? You'd read the name badge. And they would see you every single day, always smiling. And then you would see them smile. The cleaners, there. Even though I didn't get, on first name terms with the cleaners, we were just saying, apologise if they're coming down with their trolley and just having a laugh and a joke with them, saying, busy night tonight, etc. And then on the Monday morning, when he sadly passed away last Monday, we stood there in the corridor hospital, and all the nurses were oblivious to the fact, because for them it's a daily occurrence, people passing on.
Mm.
And these 2 cleaners came down the corridor with their trolleys, and these are the 2 cleaners I was interacting with, for the last 5 days. And one went past, looked at me, and she goes, I'm really sorry about your loss.
Wow.
And then the second one went past, and she said exactly the same words, I'm really sorry about your loss. And these are, we can say so many times that, these are cleaners, this is their job to clean up. And for me, can you see that human touch, that meaningful conversation that started? In terms of consolation, that was beautiful. That was maybe just the statement that we were looking for as a family. And, for that to come from the cleaners, it just shows that, we all care for one another. We're all connected. And if we're not, we should connect with one another.
Yeah. That's good. It's nice. It's a nice, as weird as it sounds, sad story, but it's got the nice touch to it. I'm sorry to hear that, Saqib. So, I guess, you talked about exams and stuff like that, and I guess that's just, I have some sweet topics, some very unique topics which really grind my gears. Is exams, school, e-learning, the list goes on. But I guess, I think the exams, a lot of these exams are absolutely pointless. I personally find the exams pointless because it's just memory recall. It's what's the point? I can cram everything I need in today, to pass an exam tomorrow, but actually, am I going to remember that exam in a month's time? How actual valuable is that exam in a week's time, never mind a month? And I guess it just got me thinking. That was all. It just got me thinking. So, a couple of 5-round questions for you.
Yeah.
Ready, Saqib?
Go for it.
So, first one. Let's do it. What's your favourite positive, negative? And when I say that, I mean, what's something what you deem negative, what happened to you, and then somewhere down the line, maybe it's months, years later, has ended up being one of your biggest positive moments.
Ooh, negative, positive. Negative, positive. I'm going to pass on that. I'm going to come back to that.
Okay, passing that, come back to it. That's cool. Okay, next one. What does the future look like for Saqib in 10 years?
10 years' time. It's to do what I enjoy doing.
Okay.
And to be able to carry on doing what I enjoy doing. And that's playing. So somewhere I read that you only grow old when you stop playing.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is beautiful. And I've got into this routine, which is absolutely hated by my mum and the missus, saying that you need to grow up. So playing hide and seek with the kids even now and scaring them. It's really, really good when they're not expecting it. So when they think I'm not home, and I'll just hide behind the sofa and spring up, or hide the kids' shoes just before school, stuff like that. And I want to carry on doing that in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
I want to carry on being able to help people out, have them meaningful conversations in 10 years' time. I don't want to isolate myself. I don't want to think that, if you get a promotion in a job that, you're far too big for anyone else.
Yeah.
I want to carry on giving.
It's good. It's good that my mum's an absolute nutter.
Is she?
Absolute nutter, and she does exactly the same things. So I can remember it from a child.
Right.
I was watching this horror film.
Uh-huh.
Well, I say it was a horror film. It wasn't really a horror film. And she used to work nights, my mum, many years ago. And I remember she said, "Right, I'm going to work now. Bye, kids. Blah blah blah." And my dad, took us to bed. And what happened was my mum was off work that night. And when she said she was going to work, she actually sneaked upstairs and lay under the bed. And I remember we was all in bed, and at this point I was sharing a room with my brothers. And my bed used to have slats in, what your mattress rests on.
Yes.
And so we're in bed, and I heard hee, and something was poking through the slats, lifting. I was like, oh my days, no. Anyway, so I'm sat up and I'm asking my brothers if they can remember anything. And he's like, no, not if they can hear anything. And he's like, no. And my mum continued, putting his slats up. And I remember I jumped down off the bed and she grabbed hold of my ankle. Oh my days. I literally felt, I can remember my body just going ice cold, thinking, what is going on? But that was years ago. That must have been 8 or 9 or something. And I'm 34 now, and I can still remember that like it was yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So these things that you're doing, Saqib, you definitely need to continue doing them, 100%. Okay, next 5 question.
Yes.
So what's one bit of advice you hear being given to others which you think is wrong? That's a tough question, I know.
Ooh, one piece of advice. What you hear is...
Maybe not wrong. Maybe not wrong. Maybe it's one bit of advice what you hear given to people where you're like, I probably won't agree with that.
See, I could never have been a stage actor, Danny. Thinking on the spot, Maybe if I did a soliloquy, then that would have been different. So one piece of advice.
Okay, let's flip it on its head. Let's do it this way. What's the one bit of advice you would give to someone? What's the one bit of advice you would give to someone for someone who is entering the world of learning and development?
I would ask them to write down the reason why they've entered. So what is their objective? Yeah.
Okay.
What is the goal that they want to achieve in learning and development?
Yeah.
And then simply write down the steps to go and achieve it. Because it's a big world out there, learning and development. Massive, absolutely massive. You mentioned e-learning.
Yeah.
And I think e-learning is probably, that word itself, makes the hair stand up the back of your neck. And some people enjoy it, some don't. And that's probably one of the, going to that question there is e-learning. Everything seems to be going e-learning. It's a bandwagon that we jump on, that everything can be solved by e-learning.
Okay.
And for me, it'd be a case of, look, what is it that you want to achieve? And then work towards that. And with that one, I would definitely say, get yourself a mentor.
Okay.
Yeah, instead of making that solo journey. See, even Frodo Baggins, yeah, he couldn't have made it on his own. He had his mentor in Gandalf.
Good reference, Saqib, good reference. Okay, next one. What's something in the last 5 years, what have you become better at saying no at? Or what realization approach has helped you do that?
I think as you grow older, you get white hairs like me, and then, head and shoulders to a certain degree, and just for men doesn't work. I've become more patient in that sense. And I've actually, I say less no than before.
Okay.
Yeah, just to try and help as many people as possible in that way. So I'd hardly ever say no. Even though if it's not in my skill set, I'll still say yes.
Okay, fair enough. What's, whenever you're feeling like overwhelmed or under-focused or kind of, just that temporary lack of focus, what do you do to regain that focus? Or what do you ask yourself, maybe?
So with that, I don't isolate myself.
Okay.
Because I've tried it in the past, and again, this is probably advice I'll give others. What works for you is probably best anyway. Is I noticed that if I, maybe go to the room and just keep myself to myself, and then, the whole thinking process goes into overdrive, and then you're having conversations which you shouldn't be having, and all these thoughts are being entered into your mind. And I just like to take my mind off things. So if I'm overwhelmed with work, personal life, etc., whatever, maybe someone's scratched your car, I remember once somebody had keyed the car across all the 4 panels when I woke up, and I was distraught for 4 days. And I had a conversation with a friend, and he goes, "What's up with you?" I said, "Oh, I don't know. Just, why would somebody key my car?" And it was as though they'd done their signature all over it. It wasn't just one line. It was just scribbles galore. And I said maybe it was somebody who didn't go to school, so can't write in that sense. And I spoke with somebody about this, and my friend, he just said, he goes, "Forget about it." He goes, "That person has obviously hurt you." I said, "Yeah, damn right. I've been hurt. Yeah, and I'm still hurting 2 days on." He goes, "Look inside, deep inside, and forgive that person." I said, "No way." Yeah, there's absolutely no way. And he says, "No, just do it." And no word of a lie, Danny. It did take a bit of effort. The next day I said, "You know what? Absolutely forgive that person. He scratched the living daylights out my car. It's going to probably cost 300-400 quid to have it resprayed if I do go down that route. But you know what? Forget it. I forgive that person. Let's move on." And you know what? It's just instant like a switch. It was a case of, wow, life's back to normal. Yeah, I'm not worried about this fella who's, could have been a girl for all I know, who scratched the car. And that was it. So that's, what I thought was really, really good in that sense. So to forgive is good. Sometimes we keep hold of things for so long. And then to talk about it. I always think it's important to talk about stuff. And, sometimes with somebody neutral, not even a specialist in that subject, because you'll get some good sound advice. It becomes dangerous when you're mulling it over in your own head over and over again. And that's why I'll always say, I remember when we did this, when I trained out this piece for Tesco Mobile a few years back, it's like, whatever decision you make, you come to, don't announce it until the next day, until you've slept on it.
Yeah.
Because your reaction when it's instant, you're probably not in the right frame of mind. So when you've slept on it, the next day you'll be thinking totally different. But oops, you sent that email last night, you CC'd in every man and his dog, and then it's that greatest regret ever. So always delay your reactions.
So I guess just kind of take it down again a bit. So what's this is going to be a hard question for you. I know it is personally just because of our ongoing
Yeah.
discussions, what we have on a daily basis. But if I said to you, out of the whole of L&D right
Yes.
now in your role end to end, if you could only do 2 hours
Yes.
of your role,
Uh-huh.
your favourite 2 hours, what would them favourite 2 hours be? So I'm like, it could be design, deliver, communication, conversation, evaluation, I don't know, kick-off.
It'd have to be delivery.
Okay.
It'd have to be delivery without a shadow of a doubt. And it'd win every single day of the week. Because I think in delivery, you are just a different person. You get to act out, be everything you wanted to be in delivery. Because I think you get to entertain. You become performers as people. And the best thing is, it's that whole engagement piece with the audience. As much as I think e-learning has got a place, a rightful place where it's needed, but it's not the solution for everything. Whereas good old style delivery, it works wonders. Have you ever noticed TED Talks? They're about delivery, aren't they? When somebody stands there, nobody says, just watch this, e-learn, navigate your way through. Because there's no engagement, there's no inspiration, it doesn't soften the heart in any way whatsoever. And, when it comes to delivery, I just think, sometimes you become the focal point. And again, it's people think that you must know it all. Okay, you're clued up on systems, on processes, and how the company works. But then people come to you for advice on other things. And I remember once this gentleman who beat me twice at table tennis. And then after that, he didn't. I thought I'd throw that in there. He was having issues with eBay and a seller. And I've never done eBay. I've never registered. And he came up to me and goes, look, Saqib, I've got this query about this parcel. I've sent it. The payment's been made. They've not, there was a dispute in the payment. And he said he was in the right. So I said, look, I don't do eBay, mate. So, firstly, do you still want my advice? He goes, yeah, I still want your advice on this. Yeah. So what do you think I should do? Yeah. And I said, right. So what can you do, in that sense? So he goes, these are the options. And then I said, look, that'd be my preferred option. I said, you get put in these situations where people take everything you do to be gospel. And it's nice to be able to help in that way. And that's the whole thing. Delivery any day of the week.
Okay.
Because I think delivery changes lives.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, you're, obviously, you kind of taught me, anyway, but your storytelling, I can still remember the stories which you told me when in my training. That was like 2010. I can still remember it now. I can still remember going home and telling my family and like how good training was going to be, how good working at O2 was going to be and stuff like that. And I completely agree. I can massively agree.
I think that's maybe, it's hereditary, like a lot of diseases, but storytelling as well. Because my mum, she's a great storyteller. My mum's uncle that was telling you about that sadly passed on last week. Again, another great storyteller.
Yeah.
And this is what you learn. And I think, we undervalue our teachers. Teachers were great storytellers. But now, because of all the red tape, the admin work they've got to do, they don't get that opportunity. And I just want to give a shout out to one of my old maths teachers, Mr. K. I was in set 2 with the boys, and we used to mess around like nobody's business. We were clever guys. We'd finish off our work, whether it was trigonometry or Pythagoras, we'd box it off. But when it came to our GCSE, because we were in set 2, we were going to be entered in the lower paper. So the highest grade we could have got was a C.
Okay.
But Mr. K, he saw this potential in us 4 lads, who were very boisterous, rowdy. And he just sat us down and he goes, right, lads, for the next, 4 weeks, how about you spend, half an hour of your lunch in here with me, and I'm going to enter you into the higher paper. And I thought, first of all, it's a case of, sacrificing your lunch. And then it was, this person believes in us as 16-year-olds. He's sacrificing his lunch hour for us every single day for 4 weeks. Game on. We did that. So I actually ended up with a grade B, but my 3 other friends got a grade A.
Wow.
That was because, again, somebody there to believe in them. to put their effort in. So for that teacher, it wasn't a case of, right, when it comes to my APR time, I'm going to put this in as evidence.
Yeah.
He was genuinely concerned about our welfare and wanted us to do well. No other reason whatsoever. And that's the reason why he probably went into teaching. And that's probably the reason why you're in L&D, I'm in L&D, and everyone else out there in L&D is because they're all positive, influences on people.
Yeah, I think going back to the storytelling aspect, I think, if you go all the way back to, say, tribes, whatever you want to go, how far you want to go back.
Yes.
We didn't have no internet. Storytellers were the gospel. Storytellers were the people who could remember the details, and that's why when you look in these stories and, how we describe a crocodile and stuff like that, they had to be really, really wordy and have really good stories, because that was the only point of information where these tribes could pass on information. And I think my mum is a great storyteller. My big brother is an absolute brilliant storyteller. But I think everyone's got storytelling in them. I think they have. I think some people comfortable can storytell. Yes. It's like that, when someone quotes a joke to you. And there's some people who can do the joke, and there's some people who always get it wrong.
Always
wrong, and they do the punchline before the joke.
That's
and
right.
You're like, what? And I think that's just because pressure's on them, and people are like, oh, tell me this joke, and everyone's looking at them. But I think we're all natural storytellers. And in our training, like me and you were always keen storytellers on a Friday before we'd tell them a random story. Maybe it's about the frogs falling down a well. Maybe it's about the birds or whatever. And I just think, the power of storytelling is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, maybe it was Tom selling tomatoes.
Yes.
And storytelling has a place. There's a place in Marrakesh in Morocco, and the central square. This is what they always show on TV. It's called Jama Al Fana Square. I mean, it's not a square. It's actually round, this area. And so they've got stalls there all around. So during the day, it's called Jama al-Fana, which is Arabic for the Assembly of the Dead, because that's where the public executions used to happen.
Oh, wow.
Hundreds of years ago. But so during the day, they have a bit of entertainment. So you've got your monkeys there who do the tricks. You've got your snake charmers. And then come sunset, all the stalls come out, the food stalls. So people go in there, families come out there. Maybe it's for fresh orange juice, a bit of hummus, a tagine. But then they last for about 2 hours. But as soon as night sets in, about 8 o'clock, the stalls disappear. Out come your storytellers. And having witnessed this, it was great. There was storytelling in Arabic, and you're talking about, enchanted stories that were going on, and you had the storyteller in the middle, and you had a crowd all the way around, so maybe 50, 60 people, and then next to him there was another storyteller with 50, 60 people, and another one, and I just found that amazing that, mum, dad, son, daughter have gone out there on a school night to have a bite to eat, and then just stay for another 20 minutes, half an hour to listen to a story. A story that's not even real. Yeah. A story that probably doesn't have, a moral to it. But the fact that, they're just taken in and just enticed by these stories was amazing.
Did the stories have any business outcomes or anything like that?
Yeah.
Wow. That sounds really good. So, we're in people development, whether L&D, people development, just people, whatever. We're all about the people. And obviously, I think one of the things which a lot of people do in L&D is they focus so much on giving back to other people that sometimes they forget about their own development. And I think it depends on which way you look at it. You could say, well, you're learning as well. You learn how to deal with people better or whatever. But from a development point of view, what's your top 3 resources, what you're using right now to develop you?
Lynda.com.
Okay.
I've actually grown into Lynda.com because especially when it comes to learning new systems, Lynda.com is really, really good. The way it's broken down, it's structured, you can just skip chapters and go to certain points in there. I really, really enjoy Lynda.com. The other one is Google. And Google is amazing what you can do. And I'm going to include YouTube as part of Google.
Okay.
And I've heard you use this example many a time, when it comes to changing your brake light bulb on your car, go to YouTube You can go to your dealer and they can charge you £25, £30, but go to YouTube and you've done it and you've learnt something without even knowing you've learnt something.
Yeah.
All you're doing is taking instructions. Now, I'll always give this example is when you buy a brand new TV, nobody opens up the manual to have a look. You want to play about it with it. You want to learn as you're doing stuff. And that's, for me, I think that's a great thing, And I even sometimes risk it with your flat pack furniture. You thought, right, let's have a go. If this goes wrong, I'll follow the manual in that case. So that's number 2.
Okay.
And so, by the way, these aren't in any ranking order.
Yeah, that's cool.
This is what I use. And thirdly, for my own development, is peer-to-peer. I believe there's so much out there. Just because somebody is just a designer or just a delivery person or someone who runs the admin side of things, you know what? They have so much knowledge, which unfortunately they can't share, or they're not given a platform to share it on. But you can go and tap into people. And that's why, I know it's become a common word, the phrase itself, like communities of practice. That is so important. It's like the WhatsApp group I've joined. It's people contributing left, right, and centre, and you always get gems on there, nuggets, people willing to help each other, on WhatsApp. Whereas they can be spending that time with their family, which they do, but they are. Someone posts a query, it's being answered. And this is, like I said, I was anti-technology, but this is a great tool for learning. Whatever you can do there, use it, learn from it, and keep on learning from it.
Cool. So I guess this is kind of why this podcast came about. Mm-hmm. So when I created that WhatsApp group,
yes,
I found, there's lots and lots of people in there and they've all got their own stories. And this is kind of the reason why this comes about, because I think we can be great in WhatsApp group and we can share our knowledge and we can do this, but actually, who's the people in there? Who is the real Saqib? Who is the real Danny? Who's the real insert name? But I guess, okay then, so next question. You can have a billboard, right, Saqib?
Right.
You can have this billboard and millions of people are going to see this billboard, millions upon millions of people. And you can, what message, what message, metaphorically speaking, or what words would you have on there, what you'd want millions and billions of people to see? So let's just say it's on a motorway and people are driving past it.
There's a quote that I used to always display in training. So I had the thing, especially in induction training, where every single day there'd be a new quote, and then 2-3 days in, people say, "All right, you change the quotes every single day," and that's, you can call it indirect learning, or subconsciously learning, And one of my favourites would be that life becomes harder when we live for others, but it also becomes richer and happier. And as maybe not just as a small community, as a country, as a world, this whole thing of individualism, it is on the rise, and maybe it's time that we brought it back in. Or just a simple thing about smiling, helping others in that way. Yeah. You recommended a movie to me a few years back, which is called Pay It Forward.
Oh, yeah.
And it was an old movie with an actor, which I'm guessing I can't mention.
Yeah, it's probably not worth mentioning his name anyway.
But you thought, what a great story. I mean, I don't remember that movie coming out. I don't remember it getting, the plaudits it deserved at that time. But what a great message it had. Pay it forward. And can you imagine if we implemented that in our lives? That you help one person with the intention of expecting nothing in return. And then that person would do it to somebody else. And, where would we be just in the space of a week?
Yeah. I'd love to do that here at this canteen. I'd love to see someone getting a brew and go, here's the thing, I'm going to get you this brew.
Yes.
And all I want you to do is pass this on and get somebody else a brew today. And that's the only rule to this whole thing.
Yes.
I just think, wow, it'd be good. And to get someone that goes, no, I'm not doing it, but I'm getting a free brew.
Yeah. But see, we can have this conversation, and with somebody else it'll be, but what if that person doesn't get a brew for somebody else? Then, But you know what? Forget them. You might not even get to that person. But before you reach that person, you've already reached out to 100, 150 people. And that person then has no impact on that message being carried on.
That domino effect.
Yeah, that domino.
You're right. And does that feel good factor for you as well? Is that, I don't think anyone does this to feel good. It's not a selfish act for you to feel good, but you do. You do feel good when you naturally feel a better person. When you give back, you go, you know what? I've just wasted 3 weeks holiday.
Yeah.
But actually, what I've done is I've gone and worked with loads of young adults or the mosque or whatever, and I've done my bit there, and I've made that impact.
Do you know last week when it snowed? The weather was really, really bad, but obviously thought, actually, tell you what, fancy a takeout. So went to our favourite chunky chicken.
Yes.
Tons of snow on the road. Me and my son went, and right opposite chunky chicken, sat on the pavement on his own bag was a homeless man, and the state of him. And as I drove past, he held a cup out asking for money. So I drove past him, parked up, and I'd given my order by phone anyway. Walked across to the gentleman, and with my son with me, and I said, tell you what, I said, the shelters are open because of the weather. Let me drive you, to the shelter, where at least you'll be warm and you can have a nice cup of tea. There'll be sleeping arrangements for you as well. He said no. He goes, him and his mates are happy just out here. Yeah? And I said, right, I don't want to, be insistent that, look, let me take you. I end up, being a kidnap in that way. Yeah. And will people be bothered that a homeless man has gone missing? So I said to him, when's the last time you ate? He goes, I haven't. I said, I'm going across there. What is it that you fancy? Yeah. And he goes, can I have a cheeseburger and chips, please? Yeah. And I said, what drink would you like with that, sir? And he goes, get me whatever drink you want. So I went across, and my son goes, Dad, are you really going to get him a cheeseburger? Yeah. I said, yeah, why not? Yeah. But where's he going to eat it? I said, he's going to eat it there, where he's happy. So I went in, my order, I said, look, can I have a quick cheeseburger? But I tell you what, why don't you drop it off? Yeah. And the guy looked at me in a strange way. I said, I'm going to pay for it, but why don't you drop it off? And he goes, nah, you're all right. Then I asked, I said, has that bloke come inside? Because what I wanted to do was for him to have his meal inside. This is what I was trying to get at. But they thought, look, there's families in here, and look at this guy, maybe he's there. So we got it packed up, dropped it for him there, and he ate it there in the road. And for me, it wasn't because, I was going to make the headlines the next day. He's a fellow human being. He's going through a hard time. At that time, I was in a privileged position. I had a spare £3, and £3 is nothing, to buy him that meal.
Yeah.
And, he gracefully accepted it. And it was a case of, yeah, mate, thank you very much. Let's have a selfie moment as well, and that. None of that. And for me, it was a case of, look, I'm just helping out someone who's a fellow human being, because several people have helped me in the past. And also a lesson for my son to see that, look, this is what life is all about. It's about helping others. And maybe, one day when he grows old, he can do the same thing.
Yeah, that's cool. So, just wrapping up now, I guess, how do you switch off?
How do I switch off? So in the evening, what I'll do is I'll go home after work, chill, relax with my mum and dad. Kids come back from mosque, we'll eat together. And this is one thing I think, instilled by my parents, is eating together. And it just adds so much to the meal. And just to go off on a tangent, let me ask you a question, Danny. When you go for a meal, what's more important, the quality of the food or the company you're with?
100% the company.
100% the company.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you now, you can call it confirmation bias or whatever you want to do. That food can be average. But because you're with the company that you're with, that food has been elevated. You think, oh wow, this is pretty good food. As a direct result of the company you're with. Because if you came on your own to sat down, maybe, just to kill some time, and you had that meal, you think, oh no, this is a waste of time. I'm gonna put in a complaint.
Yeah.
So I like to spend time with my family, and then after that, kids will do their homework, etc. I might play on my phone. It's a good opportunity. 8-ball pool I'm into at this moment in time.
Okay.
I'm not addicted though, just to let you know.
Just it's just like
yeah.
It's a good development tool for your pool game.
Yeah, and the fact that I play it every night for 3 hours,
Okay.
and I wake up in the morning and I play it. No, I'm only joking. We'll always try and do something fun. So if it's not read a book, we'll play cards, blackjack, chase the ace in that way. And recently, I've subscribed to the Beano comic.
Oh wow.
And I remember doing it as a child and do it now. So just have a good read.
Yeah.
And sometimes, occasionally, watch something on TV, like some documentary that's on at the time, something that you can enjoy, even like location. Find out what £8 million will buy you. Yeah. In that way. So just a nice, relaxing evening, and I will always try and get to bed early as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you wasn't doing what you was doing now,
Uh-huh.
what would you be doing?
What would I be doing?
Yeah.
I've had this conversation often, and I said I wouldn't mind pushing trolleys at Asda or Tesco.
Okay.
But I'd want to be doing something where I am constantly interacting with people.
Okay.
And I'm guessing it does come from my first job as a student, would have been working in Morrison's, stacking crisps. Okay, it was in the evening, but that whole thing, customer service, it develops from it, from one point or another. It's the fact that that's maybe, I think, where I learnt my customer service skills from, and then developed further, and then, talk, given the opportunity as well on the design side of stuff, which I enjoy. But if anything I'd be doing is something I'd be content with, but it'd have to be interacting with other people. And you know what? I wouldn't mind being a teacher,
Okay.
because I did my teaching qualification, and it'd be something really, really good, because I do believe I've got a good rapport with youngsters in that sense, and be able to not just to teach them, but also to learn from them and find out, and you can help people, make their paths in life, see how they're going to develop, and just aid them on their way.
Cool. Okay. I guess 2 questions and then we're done.
Cool.
Question 1.
Yes.
Who's the 3? I like the number 3.
Yes.
And who's the 3 people who you think are the main? Who's the 3 people you learn from right now, professionally? Who's the 3 people who you kind of, maybe you follow them on LinkedIn, maybe you follow them on Twitter. I don't know if you're on Twitter, LinkedIn, or maybe engage with him on a day-to-day basis. I don't know. Who's like the 3 people who, yeah.
For me, it'd be LinkedIn. I'm a novice, so I've just recently joined LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I've realised the massive potential on LinkedIn just as a learning tool. Yeah. Get yourself there. What's out there, people are posting, people are sharing their knowledge, and I think it's great. So it's early doors for me yet to say, who on LinkedIn in that way. But my first connection was you, Danny. So everything that you post on there, I do read, which is good. Other people I like to listen to or to read from, it's probably going to be very vague. It's probably the tools more than anything else. So, for example, TED Talks I find very inspirational, like everyone out there. Yeah. They're very meaningful. And you know what? Everyone will take something different from the TED Talk, because it's relatable to every single person out there.
Yeah.
In that way. Books are very, very good. I love books. Matthew Saqib as an author, he's good. His book, which I'm reading at the moment, you're going to help me out, Danny, here.
Is it the
Black Box.
Yeah, Black Box Thinking, is
That's
it?
the one, yes. Yeah. And the fact that he used to be a table tennis player. Yeah, and he came up with this idea of the 10,000 hour rule. So if you do something for 10,000 hours, you become really good at it at professional level.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what I need to do with table tennis. 10,000 hours.
Get him in, Saqib.
Yeah.
Get him in.
And I mean, and that's it. So, I mean, I'll struggle to put names to people in that way, but people will send you clips on WhatsApp or by email, and then, you just get onto YouTube and you listen. But it's about sharing. And then even here at work, I think we've got some great people here at work. Like, so, the head of L&D, which is Ian Turner. Just from team meetings, you can take so much. And my manager, Ed, as well.
Yeah.
Just his knowledge that he has on everything. So his management skills, and then plus his knowledge level, which is really, really helpful, because he'll sit down and he'll have that chat, give you friendly advice as well. So that's really, really good. And I think I am in a privileged position to be amongst nice people, genuine people. It works wonders, because it has an impact on your life after work as well, because you're not always stressed out in that way. And I used to believe that stress never existed, but it does exist. Yeah, I'll openly admit that now. And it's how people deal with it, which is key to me, because I've seen a lot of friends suffer from stress in that way. And, take a turn for the worse, but then they've come out of it in that regard. But I think there needs to be more out there, because I know the government's doing a lot about mental health issues as well at this time. So lots of people have been in denial in regards to that. But now, we have money spent on it.
Cool. So I guess, last question, and then I'll get some information where people can reach out for you. So, cool. Last question. I opened it up with at the beginning.
Yeah.
What do you want to be when you grow older? When you're in school?
Yes.
What do you want to be, Saqib, when you grow older? Because obviously we continue to grow. We continue to get older. It doesn't stop once you leave school. It continues. So, what do you want to be when you grow older?
I was going to say I want to be John Barnes.
Okay.
Yeah, but my footballing ability isn't up to that. So when I grow older, what do I want to be? I'm going to actually give you a profession.
Okay.
Yes. I want to be a baker.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes. I like to be a baker. I'm pretty useless in the kitchen as it comes to it. I don't mind doing the dishes, doing my share. But when it comes to actually making, it's absolute no-go. I can follow a recipe and then still get it wrong. And the reason why I mention that is because, cakes put a smile on people's faces.
Okay.
Yeah. So notice that next time you go to the supermarket and you see people, look at their moods when you see someone in the bread aisle or, the detergents aisle, and see how they are. And then see their facial expressions when they're at the bakery, because it just has, that positive impact on people. That when they're at the bakery, maybe it's the whole aroma that comes from, the cakes, the freshly baked cakes, the donuts, and even the staff that work there are pretty friendly. So I'd love to be a baker. And if I can't be a baker, then, like I said, I'd be happy just putting the jam into donuts.
Cheers, Saqib. Yeah. So, if people want to find out a bit more about you, Saqib, professionally, where did we go?
LinkedIn. Find me, LinkedIn, Mohammad Saqib. That's my name. So, actually, it's a big good point to finish off in, Mohammad Saqib. How do you introduce me? Am I Saqib? I'm a Mohammad Saqib. So, my passport, it is Mohammad Saqib.
Okay.
My given name is Saqib, which, in our culture here in the UK, we see that as a surname, but in other cultures, it's not.
Okay.
So you can say that I've got two first names and two surnames, Mohammad Saqib. And interestingly, I'm going to self-promote myself now. On LinkedIn, I did an article only last week, which is about a session I delivered in school to Year 5 children. And it was all centered around helping other people in life. So I'm not going to tell you about what I did, etc. I'd like you to read the article. But on there's another guy who helped me out. It was my cousin. My cousin came from Canada because we'd had the death in the family.
Yeah.
And so I decided to take him along with me. So he's helped me set up everything. So he just parked himself on the side, sat down. And when I introduced myself, I said, look, my name's Mohammad Saqib, and he was also Mohammad Saqib. Me and my cousin, I didn't know that was his full name as well, Mohammad Saqib. And I said, when I spoke with him, I said, I've not seen you in 25 years. You know, I didn't even know who to look out for when I went to pick you up at the airport. Yeah. And the fact is, I said, how does it work? Why are you Mohammad Saqib and I'm Mohammad Saqib? We're first cousins, and there's only 2 months in it. So he's 2 months older than I am.
Okay.
So we go back to 76. When we were born, we didn't have a phone. They didn't have a phone. Not many people did have a phone. But how, strange is this that his parents named him Mohammad Saqib, my parents named me Mohammad Saqib, and then it was only when I was 2 or 3 months old that we wrote a letter back to Pakistan at that time to saying, look, we've got a newborn, he's called Mohammad Saqib. Yeah, they got it. And I said, whoa, what a coincidence. We've also called our son Mohammad Saqib. Yeah. But once you've got your name registered, there's no going back. Your birth certificate's handwritten in that way. So my given name is Saqib. Throughout school I was called Saqib in that way. And that's how people recognise me. So if you come to the hood, which is Rochdale, and if you ask for Saqib, then hopefully they should know who I am.
Awesome. Cheers, Saqib.
No worries.
Thanks for
Thank
taking
you.
time. Bye-bye.
Bye.